Welcome back to The Real Story. Great news, everybody. Truly amazing news. So former CIA Director John Brennan and former FBI Director James Comey are finally in the DOJ's crosshairs for their roles in the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. And honestly, it's about damn time. So, Justice Department sources have reportedly spilled the beans to multiple news outlets out there, revealing this criminal investigation into the duo for allegedly lying to Congress. These probes stem from a 2017 intelligence community assessment that pushed the bogus narrative of President Trump colluding with Russia prior to the 2016 presidential election. Trump then endured years of that nonsense, all while Brennan and Comey played political puppeteers for everybody to see. And the rushed assessment included this infamous Steele dossier, which was funded by crooked Hillary Clinton's campaign for office. And Brennan, who once swore the dossier didn't belong in the assessment, apparently forgot his own emails begging for its inclusion. Comey, meanwhile, pushed this conspiracy theory very hard and multiple times. But on that note, here's what Trump had to say about the investigation when asked about it on Wednesday.
James Comey and John Brennan, now under criminal investigation related to the Trump-Russia probe. Do you want to see these two guys behind bars?
Well, I know nothing about it other than what I read today, but I will tell you, I think they're very dishonest people. I think they're crooked as hell, and maybe they have to pay a price for that. I believe they are truly bad people and dishonest people, so whatever happens, happens.
Interesting. Now, for years and years, Trump had to weather their witch hunt, which Special Counsel Robert Mueller later admitted found no criminal conspiracy. Still, though, Brennan's lies and Comey's sanctimonious memos fueled the dishonest legacy media, which then hounded Trump relentlessly about it during his first term in office. And according to this exclusive report from the New York Post, a recent CIA review roasted their handling of the corrupt Trump-Russia collusion report, proving they politicized agencies to, quote, screw Trump, according to CIA Director John Ratcliffe. And it also explains that Brennan briefed then-President Barack Obama on Hillary Clinton's plan to smear Trump with this fake Russian scandal. Brennan and Comey then turned the FBI and CIA into their own personal anti-Trump playground. But now the bill is finally due. So this investigation, though, is, yes, still in its early stages here, and the details about it are scarce. And Brennan is reportedly clueless about the entire thing, saying that nobody from the CIA, the FBI, or the DOJ has reached out to him about it at all. Comey, on the other hand, is staying mum, very quiet. And maybe it's because he's too busy writing another self-righteous memoir that nobody asked for, but that remains to be seen. Either way, Trump has been through the ringer on this, with impeachments, investigations, you name it. And all thanks to these really pathetic bureaucrats and their vendetta against him and his agenda. So it's all to say, if accountability ever had a moment in this country, it's right now, as these former spooks might finally face the music for their anti-Trump shenanigans. Brennan and Comey's actions didn't just target Trump, they eroded public trust in our country's intelligence agencies. So now the big question is, will they ever actually face any charges? Only time will tell, but here's hoping this investigation delivers true justice, because these two people deserve to be sent to the slammer, as far as I'm concerned. Here with reaction is Davis Younts, a military defense attorney with Younts Law. Davis, thank you for being here.
Good evening, Riley.
So there's a lot here, and I just want to start with your initial impressions.
Listen, my initial impression was similar to yours. It's kind of a sense of relief and just satisfaction that we're actually now beginning to look at the corruption that was present and that these men were involved in. And we'll get more details, but it is fascinating to think that as CIA documents become declassified and they are released, as you have new leadership at the CIA, that's what prompted this referral. This is the CIA referring this case to the DOJ and the FBI for an investigation based on information that's now been declassified. That's really significant that that's the way this is starting. And I think we're going to learn a lot about these two men and what they were involved in. And again, this goes all the way back to the United States government spying, getting a FISA warrant to spy on a private citizen, Donald Trump, and his potential presidential campaign. I mean, that's the dark secret of where this all started. And they relied on this faked intelligence, the Steele dossier, and other things to justify that FISA warrant. And that's really where this story begins. It begins with the use of the federal government to spy on a political enemy and a private citizen. And it just devolved from there as he began to gain momentum in his campaign and became president of the United States.
It's really unfortunate that it's taken us this long to finally address this matter. However, I will say a lot better late than never. But to that point, Davis, I hear some people say, you know, that was way in the past. It was almost 10 years ago. Just let bygones be bygones. To that, I would say, if we never get accountability for what has been done, then what's to stop it from happening again? And that is a thought that really should concern all of us as Americans, not just as conservatives or Republicans or fans of President Trump, but that should be deeply troubling to every U.S. citizen. Should it not, Davis?
It absolutely should. And unfortunately, we see far too much of that when it comes to DC insiders and the swamp. We see many, many people who were told we can't go after them. The 5-year statute of limitations has expired. So too bad. Now that sort of logic didn't apply to President Trump or many of his allies from the first term, who they went after relentlessly during the Biden administration. But this just continues. I mean, this is continued misconduct, continued efforts to use the power of the federal government against a political opponent. I mean, Brennan is one of the 51 people that signed the memo saying that the Hunter Biden laptop was fake, and he knew it was not true at the time. I mean, that's what's deeply troubling. Is for whatever reason, these seem to be two individuals who became so disconnected to the truth that they don't even know what the truth is anymore. And that's really where they're most vulnerable to prosecution. The most significant charges that haven't expired because of the statute of limitations really are misleading Congress. And so you're looking at just 2 years ago in 2023, where they could be facing essentially perjury charges and up to 7 years in prison for lying to Congress if there's a case there that can be made. And again, what's triggering this is a combination of what they said to Congress that appears to be intentionally misleading and the declassification of documents at the CIA. And perhaps they hoped these documents wouldn't be declassified, that Trump wouldn't win again, and they wouldn't have to face accountability for what they've done. Time will tell. They're innocent until proven guilty, but this is a great step towards accountability, and I'm glad it's happening.
I agree with that. And I want to ask you then, Davis, what is the next step in this process?
So, the investigation has started because of a referral, and I said that's significant because it's coming from another government agency. This is the CIA saying, hey, we have information that looks like there's at least evidence of some criminal activity. You should look at this. So the FBI is going to appoint investigators. They're going to dig into this, and hopefully they look at all aspects of this to include a potential conspiracy. And again, we don't know if that's the case, but there could have been not just a false testimony to Congress, but a conspiracy to mislead other federal entities, a conspiracy, was there a conspiracy to mislead the FISA court and include discredited information in seeking that original warrant? And again, keep in mind, part of what's so troubling about this is Brennan was insisting on including information from the Steele dossier, even though we're now getting memos that show CIA analysts at the time were telling him this is not credible. This is not credible information. Don't use this. And they were still relying on it. So that's what's troubling. Were they so motivated politically by their political biases, by their political loyalties, that they were willing to lie and mislead Congress, the American people, and potentially a federal court? That's significant. And regardless of the statute of limitations, there should be a full investigation so we know the truth of what happened.
Completely. So on that note, and I'm glad you said this, by the way, Davis, everybody in America is innocent until proven guilty. That's important. I firmly believe in that. But just for the sake of conversation here, what kind of charges would they be facing theoretically, just hypothetically speaking?
So the most obvious is the intentionally misleading or lying to Congress. That's a federal charge that can carry up to 7 years in prison.
Really?
It can carry 8 years if it's related to terrorism or something else. Now, it does involve a high level of proof to show that there was an intent to mislead and the government took some action in reliance on that, but that's one charge. The other is the potential of a conspiracy charge. Were these individuals involved in a conspiracy? And more serious charges could relate to attempts to mislead a federal court. Again, we don't know exactly what their involvement was in getting this FISA warrant, but we know it happened. And so if they were directly involved in trying to get this FISA warrant or misleading court in any other way, then that would be serious charges as well. But the one to look for, the one that is within the last 5 years, so there shouldn't be a statute of limitations issue, is false statements to Congress. And I think that's probably where they are most vulnerable. And that is not unprecedented. We have seen other senior officials and other administrations prosecuted and do jail time over false statements to Congress. So that will be, I think, the charge to watch out for.
Okay, understood. Final question then for you. So we're talking about Clapper and Comey, but I have to say, I'm very curious about the role or alleged role of Barack Obama in this situation. So what are your thoughts about that situation?
Yeah, I mean, that again is where this all starts, right? This is the sitting president of the United States approving, being complicit in, and allowing his CIA to get a FISA warrant and spy on, again, Donald Trump, who was a private citizen, who was, considering running and then running for president. And they did that. They used the power of the CIA and this FISA court to spy on a citizen. And we learned a couple things from that. First, they knew, and I have to think that President Obama knew that the Steele dossier was shaky at best because of the way it was presented to him. They did a lot of interesting things about that information. But the other piece of this is, why would you think that was okay? Why would you do that? This is a private citizen. I mean, look at Nixon's legacy after Watergate. And this was, supposedly trying to spy on political opponents. That happened. And what we learned is that there was nothing to see here. I mean, think about the amount of scrutiny that went on Trump and the campaign. If there was any hint of Russian collusion, we would have known about it because they were monitoring him. They were surveilling him, and they got nothing out of it, which is, the irony of all of this is that he was clean of this. There was no information. There was certainly no information they got, even though they tried every possible thing, including the full might and power of the CIA and the federal government to get this wiretap.
And they spent millions producing that Mueller report, and Democrats said they would accept the outcome of it, and whatever it found, of course they didn't. So they dragged Robert Mueller out in front of Congress and made him talk about it, and he didn't really have anything to say other than look at the report. So this whole charade was really painful, but to your point, Davis, I hope to see some accountability. We'll have to see with time, but I am very hopeful because I think this is a firm step in the right direction. So thank you for being here and sharing some insights with us about it.
Thank you, Riley. Take care.
Left to men like Davis Younts fighting for these Navy SEALs. Davis Younts, you are an attorney who has successfully defended naval officers.
Davis Younts has been instrumental in defending.
Davis Younts successfully defended an evangelical Navy lieutenant